Okay, headed to Maryland for another great meeting. I'm so excited. Another speaking gig. Let's enter the GPS coordinates here. And off we go.
Sorry, Glenn, I'm the no vacancy news robot. I can't direct you to Maryland, but I can give you an 8-hour comprehensive overview of the hospitality industry. Chapter 1, The Beginning.
Oh, dang, wrong robot.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, Glenn Hausman here, your fearless host of the No Vacancy podcast. All right, maybe I'm not completely fearless. I do have some fears, such as having to wait on a excruciating long line trying to check into a casino resort in Las Vegas. But other than that, I am without fear, at least for today. Let's face plant into rock and get this show going on. All right, so welcome to the show. Let's see, where was I this week? This past week, I was in Atlantic City, and I had the opportunity to hang out with the good folks over at Hospitality International. You might know them from such brands as Scottish Inns and Red Carpet Inn, those kind of great folks. All right, so I was in Atlantic City. I'm at the Golden Nugget. I had a chance to speak to this group, hang out with them for a few days. It was really fun to see how this company is coming together, how they're starting to really grow and kind of coalesce with a lot of folks that I've known in the industry that have come from some other companies, in particular the old school Vantage Hospitality. There's a bunch of guys that are now over there at Hospitality International that used to work for them. So it was fun being there and getting a chance to do a good keynote presentation. And this particular presentation was a lot of fun for me because I focused on where we are in the state of the industry and then what hoteliers can really do about it. How can they turn things to their favor in a time when expenses are really starting to increase and in a time where employees are getting paid more and more and more and more, and in a time when the real way to find profitability is by lowering expenses. So I talked a little bit about, different interesting ways that people are finding that they can try to eliminate some of the expenses that they have on site. But if you want to hear all about that, either tune into another show if I decide to talk about it then, or better yet, hire me to speak at your next event. Yeah, I got to get in the shameless plug. Speaking of plugs, reshape your expectations of what an FF&E distribution partner for hospitality should be. Almo Hospitality. These guys are great. And you can check them out at hospitality.almoproav.com. Why do I love them? Let me tie it back into that saving kind of money thing. They offer a service with their partners over at NoBox, which free to guest TV, internet, and voice, all of that kind of good stuff. But they can get you deals that are most likely cheaper than you're paying. If you want to be saving money every single month, well, why not take a look at how much of your costs are being spent? Can you lower some utility costs? And yes, internet to me is a utility at this point. So go ahead and go check out the good folks at Almo Hospitality. Again, they're at hospitality.almoproav.com. That's hospitality.almoproav.com. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet to our weekly Sunday night newsletter, text the word hotel to 66866. Yeah, it's just that easy. Text the word hotel to 66866. And of course, check out everything at novacancynews.com and check out our videos on Facebook and LinkedIn and like our No Vacancy pages on those sources. Por favor. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so the next I want to do is talk a little bit about where we're going with today's podcast. In the second half of the show, we are going to be focusing with some of the executives at Remington Hotels. Good guys. I had a great time catching up with them when I was over at the lodging conference a few weeks ago. I'll be posting a video version of that interview as well online again on our Facebook pages, on our LinkedIn pages, on my personal pages there, and some other sources online as well, such as YouTube. YouTube, what the hell is YouTube? Anyway, now, before we're going to be getting into another interview, and that's with the GM of the Westin Nashville. I was down in Nashville last month attending the Red Roof annual conference. You've probably seen some of my videos online focusing on Red Roof's owners and why they like partnering with the company so much. If you haven't seen those, be sure to check them out at novacancynews.com, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those good places. But anyway, this guy's the GM of the Westin Nashville, and Jeff Crabiel is a really great dude. So we learned all about what it's like, operating a convention-focused hotel in a downtown area, which is a lot of fun. I know I've been speaking to a lot of resort people lately, so this is a nice little departure. This will help energize and empower all of my GM friends out there and all the folks that are working their way up to be GMs. I think you're going to like that. And then our conversation with Remington Hotels is going to be really interesting to learn about what their strategy is and how they're handling this particular set of conditions within the market. Okay. I think I've spoken enough, and it's time for me to go to the interview with Jeff. So I want to thank you guys for listening. And remember this, whatever you do, take care of your shoes. I'll see you next time. Enjoy this interview. Have a great week, people. And like us on Facebook and all the other places where we are, like LinkedIn. See you guys later. Bye. All right, so next year on the No Vacancy podcast, I get to talk to fun general managers from time to time. And it's really awesome to me because sometimes in my world, I'm very fortunate. I get to talk to all the top executives, all of these companies, but you don't necessarily learn a lot of the cool stuff from those guys, right? The best place to be is talking to the guys that are on the front lines, the guys that are making a difference every day. And by guys, I mean men and women, so don't hit me over the head. I'm just using a colloquial version there. So all the people out there that are making a difference every day in people's lives. And that's why I'm talking today to Mr. Jeff Crabiel, and he is with the Westin Nashville Downtown Hotel I got to experience just a couple of weeks ago. Jeff, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Glenn. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much for being here today. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to you in person when you were there. Our schedules just weren't aligning, but I want you to know I had a really terrific experience at the Westin Nashville Downtown. I felt like you guys had a goal to create a really fantastic property that was focused a lot on convention goers, and I think that you really achieved your goal, assuming I'm right about your point of view.
No, absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, we are a large convention hotel in downtown Nashville, and that is exactly who we cater our business to. We obviously have a huge leisure market on the weekend, as Nashville is one of those cities. So, but I'm glad you had a great stay, and we were glad to have you. I
did, and I got to tell you, Jeff, I never stayed in downtown Nashville before. I've been to Nashville about a dozen times, but I usually get stuck at that giant property outside town, closer to the airport over there, and I don't have a chance to enjoy downtown. So it was really great that I got to experience that. And one of the cool things was, you say you get that leisure travel on the weekend, but during the week as well, you've got people that want to be in the center of it all. And, Broadway, where all of the clubs and live music is happening, is really just super, super close.
Yeah, Broadway is the main strip here in Nashville, and we're only a few blocks from there. So a lot of our guests love to be able to walk down there, but they also kind of have the retreat of coming back and not being directly down on the strip, because if you're down there, as you know, it gets a little noisy at times. Yeah,
yeah, and you're right across from the convention center, which is really helpful. And I'm going to plead to all of my folks out there in the hotel industry, come on. Hold an event downtown for once. I want to hang out downtown. I don't want to take an Uber 25 minutes to get down there to have myself a good time. But how long have you been over at the property, Jeff?
So I actually opened the property about 3.5 years ago. The property will have its 3-year anniversary this October, and I started in April of the year before. So I was here when we didn't have carpet or walls. It's been quite the experience.
That is quite the experience. So what's that like for you, getting a general manager position but not having anyone to generally manage from the public? It's more like getting things set behind the scenes. So what did you have to do in that time?
And it's a lot of fun and a lot of chaos at the same time. I mean, it's kind of like having a baby. I've seen this thing grow in the past 3 years to become what it is today, and I couldn't be more proud of what we've done. In the beginning, when you open, and like you said, there's no set guidelines. You're really kind of running and trying to put out fires, but trying to get ahead of the pace. So a lot of what we did was trial and error, and then we've really kind of found what we're good at now, and we really focus on that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So when you arrived, you said there were no walls, there were no carpeting. So you're obviously actively participating in making sure the property was ready on day one. But what point do you come in when it comes to hiring all the professionals that are going to be part of the organization, getting those sales leads going so you could fill up any space that you have as soon as you open those doors? How's that work?
Yeah, so we typically hire sales a year in advance. So you're trying to get those contracts in place for when you open the doors. Our director of sales and marketing here was actually the second employee ever hired. So really that was in process even before I walked in the door. That's so important to get future business on the books.
Yeah. So how do you go ahead and how do you do that? Because there's got to be some sort of trust between whoever's handling the sales and the folks that are going to be booking a place that doesn't exist, but probably just has a couple of nice pictures.
Yeah, you have to tell the story, right? You have to be able to show them what the property is going to become, what the service will look like. Pictures are great. People get to see renderings. They get to see what they're going to walk into. But what you really pull off of is the experience that you're going to create and how we're going to cater to that specific group.
Right. So at what point do you start hiring everybody else?
So it just depends. From a senior leadership level, you're usually looking 6 months out or so. But then when you start getting into closer to the go live day of the hotel, you're looking at the hourly positions, probably a couple weeks. So you have some time to train ahead of time. But it just depends on the role. You want an engineer in the building before the walls go up so they know where all the pipes are. That's important. We probably hired the majority of our staff within 2 months of the opening.
Right. That makes a lot of sense because you want to get them acclimated. You want to get them ready to go and train them properly. But at the same time, ownership doesn't want to be paying salaries for no reason, especially when there's no income coming in. Right. So it's probably a little bit of art form in order to make it all work.
It sure is. It's fitting a piece of the puzzle together.
Yeah. So what was it like then opening a hotel in an area that everybody is opening hotels in the last 5-6 years? It's been insane. And at all the events that I go to on the national level, Jeff, I got to tell you, the pipeline is absolutely deep still for Nashville over all of this time. So there's lots of new products. There's lots of competition. How is this different for you compared to maybe other markets that you've been a part of?
Yeah, so it is different. It's like drinking from a fire hose. I'm sure you've heard that before. When we opened the property, we were in such a high demand as a first upper upscale property that had been open in the city in quite some time.
Awesome.
And so, for us, it was how do we navigate that? How do we manage that? And how do we still try and collect the most that we can while still performing? Nashville's riding a high, and it's a high that isn't going away anytime soon. You talked about it. There's a lot of amazing properties that are opening. There's a lot of amazing properties that are in the pipeline. I think we have 2,500 hotel rooms that are coming in the city next year alone. So it's a fun time to be here. Really where we set ourselves apart is our team. And that's really what I focus on here.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what to you are the hallmarks of a great team?
Sure. For me, it's more about them having fun. So I know that sounds cliche and sounds weird, but
no, it doesn't. It sounds spot on to me. I just never put it that way. Tell us why.
Yeah, my vision for the hotel is very simple. We focus on the employees first, before all and above all. So the reason we do that is it's a very tough market here. I've been in several different markets, but this is a very tough market from recruitment and retention. And so what we do is we focus internally. A lot of times you get sidetracked by revenue or goals that you're trying to make, and you stop forgetting about what's the most important thing in the hotel, and that's the people. So we do a lot of engagement. We do a lot of parties for our team members. We do fun events. We really just try and get people where they're smiling and having fun, because at the end of the day, it's very hard to teach a smile.
Yeah,
right?
it really is. And I think this is the time I got to pull up the old chestnut, the Richard Branson quote. Clients do not come first. Employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of clients, right?
It's funny. When I started creating my vision, I went back to a book on Bill Marriott Jr. That's what they've been saying for 90 years. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. So it's great.
No, it really is. It's just your location is so crazy fantastic. Right across the street from the convention center, like we already talked about downtown, just a few blocks away, right by the Bridgestone Arena as well. You are in the thick of it all. How fortunate are you to be in such a great location?
We're super fortunate. I mean, we have it all within steps from our hotel. It doesn't matter what you're looking to do in downtown Nashville. We have it, whether you're there for a convention or you're going to live music or you're going to watch the Predators play hockey or the Titans play football. We're within walking distance of everything, so we're very fortunate.
And fortunately, the only thing I care that you're in walking distance to is the Peg Leg Porker, my favorite barbecue joint down there.
You hit the nail on the head. If you have not had their brisket nachos, you are wrong. And there are people in the city that will fight me to the core. That is not the best, and that is the best.
I don't want to get an explicit rating for myself on this, but I have a lot of things to say about people that don't think those are the best brisket nachos. I'm just going to keep it really nice and civil and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I love it. It's such a great atmosphere, Nashville, as well, and it's fun that so many people are catching on and doing their conferences down there, and it must make for a really good experience for you. But what I'm curious about is, what do you think the convention goer is looking for today when it comes to an upper upscale property like the Westin Nashville?
I think that could be actually one of our biggest selling points is there's a sense of well-being. So Westin as a brand focuses very much on the emerging market, which is having healthy meetings, right? So people want to step away, but as much as they may want those brisket nachos, they also want to leave here feeling refreshed and not feeling tired and exhausted getting back on the plane going home. So we focus heavily on that market here. We really have a huge fitness aspect to our hotel. We do a lot with superfoods. We do a lot with meditation and on Sundays. So there's a lot of different things that we're doing to try and cater to a guest that, they want to see Broadway for a night or so, but they also want to walk out of here feeling better than when they walked in.
Right, yeah, and that's always my goal when I go on a trip. Unfortunately, I always feel worse every single time I go on a trip. I got to get a little bit more into some of the healthy aspects of it. And, maybe next time I'm down there, I'll actually borrow some of that workout gear that you guys offer through the Westin workout program.
We also have a run concierge, which is pretty unique to our brand. So we actually have a guy here that will go on guided runs with you. So if you need a place to run, let us know and we'll have him take care of you. Yeah.
Typically what happens in Nashville is I'll see those people leaving to go for their morning run while I'm coming in after having some Waffle House or something like that. So
you're like 95% in Nashville, so you're okay.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't mean to mischaracterize the city as a place where I enjoy myself too much, but it is really just such a fun town. So I had the opportunity to go check out the L27 Rooftop Lounge. I had myself a really good burger with some fantastic crispy French fries that reminded me of the potato sticks I used to have when I was a kid, and this fabulous jerk octopus appetizer. So really cool how you have some traditional stuff, but then you're kind of mixing it up a little bit at the same time to add a little bit of the pizzazz.
Yeah, it's the wow factor for our property.
Right.
I mean, L27 is the city's premier rooftop lounge. I mean, we're 27 floors overlooking the city with unobstructed views. So it's hard to beat that view, especially at night.
Yep.
We're very proud of it. We just, one of our head managers up there just won Bartender of the Year for all of Nashville.
Sweet.
So we do some fantastic activations up there, and we do some really fun things. We do concerts on the pool. So it's really one of those wow factors that other Westins and other properties in the city don't necessarily have.
No, they don't, and I really love the rooftop pool thing, and it's great because a lot of places in Nashville have that rooftop bar, which I think is almost a prerequisite before you build something in Nashville these days. But the pool area kind of changes the code to me a little bit. It creates what I believe to be an area that is really focused on multiple day parts, which is kind of, I think, the holy grail for real estate space these days. So you're finding a lot of people are using the stuff during the day, and it easily transforms into that loungy type of atmosphere in the evenings.
Yeah, that's the goal. We have that pool up there for a specific reason, and a part of it is for the daytime usage. And we see a lot of our guests come and lounge by the pool, and it's a plunge pool, so they'll get their feet in, dip in, they'll have a couple cocktails, and then they'll leave. But before dinner or after dinner, they'll come back because it completely transforms at night, and it becomes a whole new location and venue. We'll have a lot of live DJs and music up there. So the vibe changes completely from day to night. And so we find a lot of our guests utilize it for both times.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to check it out during the daytime. I had to work. Wah, wah. Poor me. But it was really great up there, and he seemed to have a really nice crowd, and I believe it was like a Monday or a Tuesday night or something like that. It was pretty early in the week. So really kudos to you. So Jeff, when you're thinking about operating these hotels, what's your normal day like? What are you thinking about every day when it comes to making your staff happy and making sure that they take care of all of your guests in the building?
Yeah, the fun part about my job, every single day is different. So when I wake up, I never know what I'm going to get into that day. My main focus, though, is just to be present for the staff. You talked, how do I make the staff happy, or how do I allow them to have fun? I'm in every department all the time. Probably some of the managers think a bit too much, but I like to walk around. I don't like to stay in my office because I think it's important for all the employees in the hotel to see kind of the face of the hotel and thank them for what they're doing day in and day out. Because at the end of the day, they're doing all the hard work, right? They're the ones that are down in the front lines, in the trenches. And, for me to take 2 hours out of my day every day to just come by and say thank you for being here, I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it really does. Plus, I think it gives you as a general manager better insight as to the pulse of the community and what's bringing people to the hotel.
Yeah, it's what gives me energy. I came up in operations in the rooms department, and where I got my energy from was talking with our guests and talking with our internal guests or our employees. And sometimes as a general manager, you can get a little bit removed from that. There's a lot of important meetings that people think I'm far more important than I am. So I have to break away from that, because I have to get the energy of the staff. I have to get the energy of the guests. And really, that's where you find out what's going on in the hotel, like you said. I mean, the guests will tell you what you want to hear and sometimes what you don't want to hear, but it's all great feedback. So it's really important for myself to be out there engulfed in the community that we have here in the hotel.
Yeah. Is there something that you learned through some of these guest insights that you felt helped make either your team a better job, or offer something new and different, or just even clarify that you're on the right path?
Yeah, every day. I mean, an example that comes to mind, though, for me is we had a 27 live rooftop concert series not long ago, and I went up there and I sat next to a gentleman and started talking to him. Business traveler, comes here 4 days a week for 6 months, and I just started talking to him about what he looks for when he's traveling, and he started talking about the lounge. And we have a pretty expansive lounge. It's on the 27th floor and overlooks all of downtown. And we started talking about the offerings and what was important to him, and it was very, very interesting insight, because his take on it was, hey, I'm given so much expense. I'd rather buy a cocktail and have heavy appetizers so that I'm full, but I can use that money on a cocktail than have just little light bites. So it's really, we've catered to what our guests tell us. I mean, we have internal surveys like everyone else does, and we really dissect those, and we try and listen to what the guest is saying, and we try and stay true to who we are, but to conform to some of the things that if we see trends.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But how do you then appeal towards what could be a schism if not done correctly with different audiences? You got that business traveler, but then you got the party goer as well. How do you feel that you can bring the commonalities together so it doesn't feel like they're two disparate groups hanging around? Yeah,
you can't always, but what we try and do is we stay true to who we are, right? We have an identity as a property. When you walk in the doors, you'll be able to tell exactly who we are right away. When you go to L27, you'll be able to tell who we are right away. And we don't get too far removed from that. So we have a vision internally in the hotel of who we are, who we cater to, who our traveler is, and we base ourselves around that. We'll make minor adjustments here and there based upon feedback, but we never get too far away from what the end goal is.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, I love the design. I think it's very... it connotes a very upscale feeling, just like you're trying to do, and it feels like it's a little bit Nashville, but it doesn't hit you over the head with it, which I think, in my opinion, I like, because it doesn't go into that hokey kind of way, Yeah,
we did that intentionally. The design of this hotel was done to still pay attention to the city that we're in and still give back, but at the same time, we don't want it to feel like a honky-tonk, right? That's not the goal.
Hey, if you want that, go down to Tootsie's, right?
That's right. Exactly right. But, it was done intentionally, and I think it was done very well. The decor in this hotel is beautiful. I've been in a lot of different hotels, and you can really tell the difference from an ownership perspective on the little touches that you see throughout the property.
Right. Yeah. All right. So I got one design touch that I want to ask you about. It's that gorgeous living wall. So to describe it to our listeners out there, it's not a living wall in the traditional sense where it's just like vines going up the whole wall. It's all of these, I would call them terrariums, right? In this this great design throughout. I don't know how tall it goes, 30, 40 feet maybe? Or
35 feet, 35 feet.
Right. Wow, I can't believe I guessed that right. I'm pretty impressed with myself right now, Jeff.
Good.
It's absolutely gorgeous. How did that whole thing come to be? I suppose it kind of like symbolizes what you're trying to do over at the property. I'd just love to learn a little bit more about it because I'm trying to encourage people to add more of those components to it because I love the notion of bringing the outside in. I think it creates a calming factor and it just is, it just sets the right tone and image for a property.
So, I think you hit it on the head again with the fact that you see a lot of hotels doing living walls and it's traditionally an ivy plant or something that's going up. And we wanted to do something different. We wanted to put in our air plants in there. And we wanted to bring
air plants. That's a cool name.
Yeah, we wanted to bring the outside in. And so we suspended these globes throughout they're done on steel wires. And they're suspended at different levels. And it really makes an amazing picture. It's probably our most Instagrammable moment in the hotel is in front of that wall. But really what we're trying to do is, like you said, bring the outside in, but in a nice, luxurious touch.
Yeah, and it really worked. I could not help but think, my gosh, what an effort it is to clean that thing. And then I saw these two gentlemen trying to do it as I was checking out. I'm like, Godspeed with them. They got a lot of work ahead of them, but it looks gorgeous.
It's difficult. They do it a couple times a week, but it's difficult. But we want it to look pristine every time.
Yeah, but you know what? It's got to look pristine because, as you said, it's the most Instagrammable moment in the hotel. And hoteliers these days, it's so essential for them to try to figure out how to create those social media moments. This thing probably just winds up advertising the whole hotel itself, right?
Between that and the circle chair in the lobby, we do pretty well on social media. So, absolutely.
I love it. All right, so how did you get to be a general manager?
Yeah, so like most people in hotels, I kind of fell into the position. I started my career in Michigan and started at a small property just because I knew somebody that needed a front desk agent. And 15, 16 years later, I've made my way through a couple cities and just worked my way up and been promoted internally 3 times. So it's one of those things where you just have to come to work every day. And it sounds very cliche, but it's just put your nose down and work hard and be a good person and things will happen for you. So
yeah, totally, man.
It.
Yeah, I get it, Jeff. It's like people, I think they're too quick to want instant results, and I know that's kind of like the culture right now. Everything, I want it now. I think we should probably call it Veruca Salt culture or something like that, right?
Exactly.
But the fact is, you got to work hard. You got to put in the time, and if you do that, you're going to see those results like you have.
Yeah, I talk about it in orientation every other week when I speak in front of all the new employees that are coming into the hotel. And, success doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to know everything that you need to know within a year. But if you give it time and you are constantly auditioning for that next role, it will happen for you. I'm very proud that we have 48 internal promotions in this hotel in the past 3 years.
Amazing.
It's fantastic what we've done here. We've built a lot of bench strength, and we continue to do that. And it's really just because we're looking for personality, not necessarily experience, right?
Right. Yeah, and that I hear that all the time. It's all about hiring for personality because, if you folks listening don't know by now, you could train the rest of the stuff. The personality stuff you really can't change, right?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. We can teach you systems. We can't teach you to smile.
Right. That's a great way to put it. So what other cities were you in prior to Nashville, Jeff?
I was in Orlando mostly. So I was down in Orlando for about 8 years, bounced around to a couple different properties there and loved it. But then it was time to move a little bit closer to home. And I'm originally born and raised in Michigan. So this was about as far north as I would go, as I don't like the cold.
Oh, yeah. But you still do a lot of humid days down there. I don't know how you guys handle it.
It's pretty humid. I got off the plane. I was in Vegas for 4 days at a convention, and I got off the plane yesterday, last night, and the humidity hit me in the face, and I wasn't ready for it. So, but no, it's great. Nashville's a great city. I
love Nashville. It is so much fun. Such a great town. The people are really absolutely wonderful, and it sounds like you're fitting in just perfectly down there, Jeff. Any other thoughts on what you want to share with our audience today?
I would just say if you haven't been, you have to try. There's a lot of beautiful properties here. I happen to favor one in particular, but you have to come to Nashville and experience it. It's one of those things that when people leave this city, they always have the same impression of, I had no idea.
Right.
And that's really what it's about. Nashville's such a fun city. It caters to everything you could ever want to do. And we have a fun time here at the Westin doing it.
Awesome. I love it. All right, hoteliers, I'm challenging you all out there. Instead of doing an event in that other place in town, do it downtown for once. I'm not saying anything bad about those guys, but let's do something downtown. You'll engage the audience in a very fun way. It's so cool down there. Just do it already. All right, Jeff, how about a good shameless plug for the Westin Nashville?
Yeah, so the Westin Nashville is one of the premier hotels in the city. We've talked about, we focus on wellness. We have the best rooftop in the city. It's such an amazing time to come here, whether you're going to be in our Rhapsody Spa or you're going to join us for a cocktail on the rooftop. We would love to have all the listeners come stay with us and really appreciate your time as well.
Thank you. And the only thing I did not like about the entire property is I only got to stay one night. But that's my fault, not you guys. So thanks so much for being here, Jeff. And I look forward to getting back down to Nashville and staying over there again and getting myself some of those brisket nachos. All right, guys, thanks for listening. And we will be right back after this commercial break.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. So listen, a while back, I told you about the Red Collection, Red Roof soft brand that was developed after comprehensive research into what today's traveler truly desires. Well, offering you a great opportunity to affordably expand your portfolio in the heart of the cities you love. For a limited time, that opportunity is miles beyond affordable because Red Roof is offering free royalties for 5 years to qualified franchisees completing an application by December 31st, 2019. That's December 31st, 2019. Don't sit around. Get it done. The Red Collection is a fast-growing group of upper-mid-scale unique hotels, each inspired by their city's vibe and culture. What's more, every property has its own distinctive name, customized property enhancement plan, and brand standards based on consumer wants rather than design mandates. That's the way it should be. And because all this is backed by Red Roof, well, you'll gain the advantage of their owner-operator perspective, as well as loyalty rewards programs with more than 3 million members. And that just happens to be the richest in class and least expensive for franchisees. Plus, you'll be working with a company with a franchisee satisfaction rate of 90%. How about that? To learn more about, get this, 5 years free royalty, 5 years royalty free with the Red Collection, contact Matt Hostetler, Red Roof Senior VP of Development and Franchising today. I mean, right now. Stop walking the dog, stop running on that treadmill, stop doing what you're doing, and call 713-576-7426 or email mhostetler@redroof.com. That's MHOSTETLER @redroof.com. Thanks for listening. Back to the show. And welcome back to the No Vacancy Podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. I'm excited to do this interview because for all these years I've been doing these interviews, I have not had a chance to corner the folks over at Remington. And that's why I've got Mr. Sloan Dean, Chief Operating Officer, and Jarrad Evans, Chief Investment Officer. How you guys doing today?
Doing awesome. How about you, Glenn?
I'm doing pretty good. Jarrad, how about yourself?
Doing good, Glenn.
All right, we got to make sure everybody knows whose voice is whose when we got multiple people going. But fortunately, if you guys watch the video version, you'll have that all figured out. So I'm curious as to how you guys are seeing the whole state of the hospitality universe right now, both from the operations point of view and the investment point of view. So that's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. Some of the issues that you folks might be seeing out there and some of the solutions that they are providing out there for themselves and for folks outside of their organization. So Sloan, I guess best place to start is with you since you're closest to me. How is the state of hospitality when it comes to the good folks over at Remington?
Well, I think we're in an environment right now that we have revenue stagnation and we have expense inflation. And so it's a tough problem to have right now in the industry with, labor up 5%, other expenses up 3-4%, and maintaining margin. And for us, we think differently than other operators. We started 50 years ago as an owner-operator. Mm-hmm. And so we're hyper-focused on flow-through, and we're having to find it in new places. So we're looking at ancillary revenues, everything from parking, AV charges, et cetera. How can we maximize profit? And then also looking at the labor market differently. We utilize J1s more than we ever have.
Right.
unique labor relationships like contract labor that we utilize in certain markets where it's advantageous. And then also looking at non-labor expenses.
Right.
We just renewed a deal for our procurement that saved us a couple $1 million. We are renegotiating just about every contract we have, and I think it's that kind of approach that you have to take in this environment. Everything's on the table.
It really is. And man, you just threw out a whole lot of stuff there real quick. So we're going to have to break that down, I think, a little bit. Let's start at the end, the last thing you said, reevaluating every single contract you have out there. This is a great strategy that I see that a lot of management companies are out there and other companies are doing as well, because just because you're paying something doesn't mean you need to keep paying that same amount every year, right? So what is that process like for you when you think about going into renegotiating these contracts for all of the services that you have?
Well, it depends on the service, but when it comes to central procurement, I think it is being open to an annual RFP process.
Right.
I mean, everybody we do $250 million in expenses a year. Everybody wants to play in our sandbox.
No doubt.
And so, we try to negotiate annual agreements and keep everybody honest. And we run a full RFP process every year. Now, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's what you have to do in this environment. You can't lock yourself into multi-year agreements. You have to be open to new relationships. That's first. It's running a full RFP and seeing what's out there. The second is just questioning everything.
Right.
Like you said, just because we've had Coke products in all our hotels for 10 years doesn't mean we need to continue to do that.
Right.
We've changed out audio-visual partners, parking partners. We've changed out elevator maintenance partners all in the last 12 months because it's something we had to do from a cost perspective. And so we've taken the approach that everything's on the table. At the end of the day, we want to maximize profit for our owners.
Right. Now I'm going to get to Jarrad in just a second. I always feel uncomfortable when somebody's not talking, but you guys have two totally distinct kind of universes, so we got to try to pull that together. But I got to ask you about the J1 question. That, of course, is Visa, right? Could you explain a little bit more to our listeners specifically what that does for you and how you're able to deploy it in your properties?
Yep. So we use J1 Visa is basically an international right to work. You can for up to 12 months, and then they can extend for another 12 months. Mostly European students who are highly educated. And we utilize them heavily in front office and in sales and food and beverage in our seasonal hotels. So we operate the Sheraton Anchorage for Ashford Hospitality Trust.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we a third of our staff in the summer months are J1s.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And this typically is more of a seasonal type of thing, and that's meant to help you able to fill the employment gap during those really super busy months, right?
Totally. But I think the smart operators are starting to use it in non-seasonal markets.
Right.
So Washington, D.C. is a good example. We have extensive J1s in our Melrose Hotel in Georgetown. They're better trained in a lot of cases. You have a college degree, highly educated, European service-oriented that you can put in with limited training and can provide great service, and they want to come to America and have some experience.
Right.
So it's kind of a win-win for them, a win-win for us, and a lot of them are actually multilingual.
Right.
So it works in great urban cities where you have a lot of different languages being spoken.
Especially some of the big cities where lots of folks are coming over from Europe. They can make that connection
Absolutely.
A little bit easier. And as you know, in hospitality, it isn't necessarily about the things that you have there, although that's really important, but it's about those one-on-one connections you make with the staff. Those are the memories that you bring home, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so Jarrad, let me bring you in over here. You have anything to do with getting that hotel in Alaska up there in Anchorage?
A little bit before my time.
Okay. So, what's the environment like out there for you guys right now?
Sure.
There's been, there's been a lot of consolidation out there in the industry, and I've seen more management companies, for example, pop up in the last 10 years than I could even think of. How does that change your job, and where are you able to find your success?
Yeah, it's a really unique environment right now, Glenn. And I think it's a great opportunity for Remington to really expand and grow out into the pure third-party arena where we've, for the most part, managed primarily REIT-owned assets in the past.
Right.
But with the significant M&A activity, obviously Ambridge Interstate was the big announcement.
Yeah, I was definitely gonna get to that.
Yeah, but you got that. You have Hyatt acquiring 2 roads. There's so much consolidation going on right now,
Right.
and I think there's a great opportunity for us where we manage a myriad of types of products all over the country. To really have a differentiating point. And given that we have this platform that was built off a supportive owner-operator model, we have a very positive, disproportionate amount of resources within the company to support our managed properties going forward, which I know is a huge differentiator. If you look at the ratio of support staff to properties operated, we're going to have an offering that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, so how many properties are you guys managing right now?
86.
That's a whole lot of properties, but now all of a sudden, Aimbridge and Interstate have merged. That changes the whole industry, right? What does that mean to you guys practically on a day-to-day basis, if anything?
Well, it means opportunity for us.
Right.
There are going to be 1,400 hotels, assuming there's not conflicts within the portfolio. We are now number 6 in terms of size of third-party manager, and we like to say we're big enough that we matter. I sit on Hilton's OAC. We have a really large agreement with our central procurement, so we get economies of scale with buying. But we're not so big that we forget about the individual unit owners. And so if you're a family office, a high net worth individual, a REIT that has a couple of hotels and is in different segments, you matter to us. And we think the new mega Aimbridge Interstate is going to provide us opportunities to pick up where, someone doesn't want to be a part of a portfolio of 1,400 hotels.
Right.
And so someone like us still provides the size, but also the customized service. And it's that balance of size and yet nimble that we think is going to allow us to be successful in this new environment.
That's a very interesting. I think you are really there in a sweet spot, and you're a little bit bigger than the next group behind you, which always seems to be in that 30 to 50 kind of range, right? So you've got a bunch of resources out there that you're able to deploy, and I bet you're able to create more hands-on contact than some of these other companies. So, Jarrad, back to you. What does all that mean to you when you're trying to sell owners and developers on hiring you guys?
Yeah, look, I think it's what you see from a lot of owners now are getting lost. Right. There's a lot of companies that are growing big, but the infrastructure is not keeping pace as much. And again, having that owner's lens, right? I mean, that's not a bad thing that we were viewed as a bit of an owner-operator company because we're managing bottom line. It's proven through performance. We run 400 basis points in profit premium to our competition.
Right. Wow.
So I think we've got a very compelling competitive story. We also have a very unique portfolio where we manage everything from high-end independent luxury hotels to large-scale hard-branded hotels, soft brand, experiential hard brand. We really touch a lot of avenues.
And you work with all the major brands that are out there, that are household names to each and every one of us. So what is it like with a company that has all of these different brands? I don't ask you guys, guys from management companies this enough, right? What is it like when you have all of these different companies that you're trying to operate? How do you have to work at them differently? But where are some of the synergies when you have very disparate brands all under one portfolio?
Well, we have 17 brand families that we deal with, and we have 12 independents. And what I like to say to people is we learn the best from all, and we try to apply the best from all in our operations daily, every day.
Right.
And so that's the benefit, is that you get to see what everybody does well, and you get to see what everybody doesn't do well. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. I get asked the question weekly, should I brand this, should I not brand it? And that our portfolio and experience provides us a unique lens to be able to give that recommendation. We're not just Hilton heavy. We're not just Marriott heavy. We're not just independent heavy. We're rather hotel heavy. Right. And so I see it as a huge advantage for us that we are diversified and can provide that, diversified experience and knowledge base that applies really in different markets.
So, Jarrad, someone will come to you and you've been having a conversation with them. So you guys will actually consult perhaps on the type of hotel that they should be building and who they should affiliate with if they are doing that at all.
Sure, absolutely. No, I think having the opportunity to work with developers, to your point, we do manage quite a few brands.
Right.
So we've got a lot of great experience of knowing what brands fit in the right environment and the right product and the right location. It's not brand first. It's always those things. What's the product? Where's the location? What's the positioning? And we can help educate a developer and bring them along and help out that learning curve for them quite a bit.
I like what you said, educate the developer, because my hunch is, anecdotally, based on a lot of conversations that I have, that there's a newish group of people, of high net worth individuals that are coming in and playing in the hospitality industry for the first time. So you really do have to have that education component as much as just the experience behind you, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it is a delicate balance with a high net worth individual who's been successful in whatever she or he has done to step in and listen to them first and then try to pivot them to possibly an idea that is not their first inception or first idea, but may be better for them in the long run. And that's a delicate dance. And I think you're absolutely right. There is a lot of successful money from other industries that is moving into hospitality. And you could argue that is partly why supply growth has started to creep up again as you look out into next year. In 2021, it started to tick back up. And it's some of those money sources that you referenced.
That's one of the things that I always find fascinating about the hospitality industry is the dichotomy in it between the operations side and the development side, and how the development side needs to keep developing, but at some point it winds up in aggregate screwing the operations side because there are too many hotels. But as the saying goes, developers need to develop, right? So, Jarrad, where are you finding these people? I don't want you to give away all your secrets here, but how do you find these people that might be interested? Do they come to you? Do you find them? Do you just hang out at golf clubs? How does all that work?
That's what most people actually think, Glenn.
His golf game doesn't support that.
No, look, it's a broad spectrum. Given the types of assets that we operate, it's very broad. It's, the Sloan's point, high net worth, significant institutional capital. From our plan, what we're putting together, getting the word out about our new operational platform, we want to be very strategic and aggressively target the institutional capital markets, quite frankly. Really spending time on multi-unit property owners where we can grow with clients and not have to do one-offs at every type of project that we pursue.
And I would say, and I hear this is all just me spitballing, kids, I think that sometimes the individual high net worth individuals may consume a lot more of your time than perhaps some of these other organizations.
You're absolutely correct.
Right, because it's their baby. Yeah. This is their project. This is the thing that they're going to be inviting all their friends to, right?
Absolutely. And even if it was their design concept, that much more so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially when you have to go back and say that we need to make these types of changes, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, we're at this weird state, I think, of the market now, where everybody keeps talking about, is there going to be a recession in the general economy? Or is there going to be some sort of drop in the hospitality industry? I just think that we're at a function of you can only raise rates for so many years before consumers get tired of continuing to pay more, right? And it becomes harder to keep having these incredible increases because mathematically speaking, for 10 years, if you've been getting 6, 7, whatever percent it is every single year up in RevPAR, you cannot keep going. It just doesn't work. So to me, I think people are starting to get a negative attitude, but maybe 1% equals what 5 or 6% did a few years ago, right? In terms of raw dollars. Am I wrong there? This is kind of where I kind of want to be educated.
I think there's some tidbits you have there that are correct. Yeah. I would say in the institutional side, I would like to think that the negativity is built in. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at the valuations the REITs are trading at, you look at the divergence of private sale hotel value versus public market, that I like to think that a lot of the negativity is already baked in. And I'm with you. I mean, everybody wants to predict this recession and almost self-inflict it.
That's right.
A trade war, okay, labor market, supply is going to take us in. And we could just have a very protracted cycle that we haven't experienced. Mm-hmm. Who's to say it couldn't drag on for another 2 or 3 years? I think that the challenge in the industry right now is that you have such a hard labor market.
Right.
We have over 1 million open jobs in the industry, and that's putting a real pinch on operations and margins. And I think that's the more short-term acute problem.
Right.
We can't find people, and when we do, we're having to pay them 20% more.
Yeah. So what does that mean for you in terms of going forward when you're thinking about maybe ways to not need all of those full-time employees? I'm talking about automation that kind of stuff, which I think is going to have great success behind the scenes where you're not having the interactions with human beings.
No, I think automation is something that we're looking at. Mm-hmm. We've automated some back-of-house operations to try and save, accounts payable, for example. Right. I think one thing that's naturally going to happen is you'll see front desk staff draw down as mobile key direct to room.
Yeah, I agree.
Becomes a higher adoption. It's one of those things that it's not linear. You kind of have to get to a certain adoption. It's about 20 or 30% of overall check-ins, and then you can kind of drop a a couple staff members down. I think that's a natural. I think housekeeping is another that, with automated vacuums and some other things.
I think that makes sense. Plus, I think there's a consumer shift of if the hotel industry could get people to realize you don't need the housekeeping every single day. And it's interesting to me that that's something that has been so sacrosanct, but I'm not so sure the customers care all that much. The hotel that we're staying here in right now, or at least I am, I don't know if you guys are able to get into the room block at all, but they offer a certain amount of points if you want to forego getting your bed made. And quite frankly, I don't need them coming in every single day.
Yeah, and I think that's going to become more common. I mean, our Make a Green Choice program that we have in our hotels, we're at about 12% adoption. I think
that's significant.
Yeah, it's significant.
That's got to add up to several housekeepers, depending on the size of a place.
Yes, it is millions of dollars on an annual basis for a large portfolio, and I think that's going to become more and more common, and not necessarily. I think partly for what consumer choice and behavior, but also the fact that there's a green component. And people are becoming more and more green conscious every day.
Speaking about green, let's take it over to the development side, right? So we can bring Jarrad back into the conversation. Are you seeing when people want to develop new properties from the ground up that they're thinking more environmentally? And it doesn't have to be from, this is good for the world. It could just mean it's better for my spending money over the long term.
Yeah, now I think obviously you can see the industry trend with all of the sustainable development that's going on, really all over the world for that matter.
Yeah.
And it's great that there are different levels of, call it sustainability, right? Different LEED certification levels and tiers, and some are going over the top, and God bless them if they have the clientele that wants that. So I think it's a good opportunity. It's a good offer. That's kind of the way of the industry right now, is being as environmentally sustainable as possible. Where I think we're going to see a good shift is when the economics of that catch up a little bit faster, because it's not always cheaper to build at that most sustainable level.
But I think it's one of those things that really have a good ROI over time. And me, again, I'm not in the operations or in the deal making like you guys every day, but it seems to me that if I was to build a hotel today with the plan of selling it in 5 years, I would want to have all of those features baked in, because it would create a higher valuation for my property. Is that correct?
I think that's fair, particularly when it comes to energy conservation. Right. So you look at utilities. So take we operate Bardessono in Napa County. It is one of the most efficient commercial buildings that's in existence. And you're right, it runs a higher net operating income because it uses less water, uses less energy, and it uses less, basically, every utility you can think of. And that translates into cash flow, but also it translates into long-term lower cost. And, that's part of why that hotel trades at such a low cap rate, is because of the energy efficient, And by the way, you'd have to have less maintenance staff because you're not changing light bulbs out all the time, et cetera. So there's all these, like you said, long-term benefits.
Yeah, I just put in all these LED lights in my house, and I'm loving that. Although I wish my kids would turn off the water or even some of the lights occasionally. Every single morning, my kids, when they go to school, they don't know how to turn off the freaking lights in their room. And thank God sometimes I'm not out of town and I can turn them off myself.
Reach it. I'm telling you, I got 3 and it's the same thing.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. At what age did we start turning off light switches? I guess when we started seeing the bills for how much they cost.
When we start paying for it, I think.
Yeah. And let me say one thing about Bardessono. Now, I've never been there, but I've seen so many photographs of that place, and it is so freaking gorgeous. What a great hotel that is.
Oh, we're blessed to have it in the portfolio. It is one of the most unique hotel experiences you can have. So.
Awesome. All right, so wrapping this whole thing up, Jarrad, what do you see in terms of your goals for development in the next couple of years? It doesn't have to be exact numbers or so, but what are you hoping to achieve here?
Look, we want to have a healthy pace.
Yeah.
We really do, Glenn. We're not going to do a bunch of deals just to get deals done. We're going to be very smart, thoughtful. We've got senior leadership and board-level support and commitment to grow this the right way with the right clients, the right properties, and so we're going to be smart about it.
How hard is it to say no to somebody?
It's not that hard, quite frankly, if it conflicts with where you need to be. I think a lot of our competitors have sacrificed culture and results for growth.
Right.
And we're not going to go take over a similar sized company just for the sake of growth and sacrifice performance. We're not going to do that.
That's interesting. One of the things that I've done in my business here is I came to realize that there are certain people you just don't want to deal with, and it's probably best not to take that money because it's going to wind up being a pain in the ass as time goes on.
Absolutely. And it may go counterculture to what you're trying to build, and you'll end up paying for it in the long run.
Right. So how do you recognize, Jarrad, that something might be a little bit not right? Or is it just plainly evident?
Well, you do it long enough, and you can tell.
Right.
There's a lot of hints along the way. But look, one thing that we're going to put a lot of time and focus on that I've tried to do throughout my career is significant due diligence on clients.
Right.
Just as much as they do it on us, we want to know who our clients are, what kind of partners are they going to be, because it's a partnership.
Yeah. You know? So it's a little bit of the due diligence, a little bit of Malcolm Gladwell's Blink book, where you're bringing your whole lifetime of experience with that gut reaction. Right, and you just know if it's right or if it's wrong. Sloan, any final thoughts from you?
Well, what I'd tag on to that is that, we co-invest a lot, or will co-invest a lot, and we'll put key money into deals. And so that holds us accountable not to do business with people we don't want to do business with, and to not do bad deals.
And that's interesting to me, because that's one of the bigger trends that I've seen over the last 10 years is people want the managers to put in some money because they have that perception that you're going to do a better job than you would have, even though I don't think you would have done a worse job. Right?
Well, it creates a level of accountability because the returns on the equity could be worth more than the management fees. Right. So I think it does create accountability.
I like that. Yeah. Great. Any final thoughts from you, Jarrad?
I appreciate you having me, Glenn. Thanks so much.
Excellent. How about a good shameless plug from each of you about Remington, how to find you guys?
Well, you can find us at remingtonhotels.com. If you're looking for an alternative to the mega merger that is going on right now, feel free to call us. You can find us online, and you can find Jarrad and me waiting to want to do business with you. So thanks for the time, Glenn.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jarrad, any final thoughts from you? Any shameless plug from you, or he covered it all?
Appreciate it. No, very excited about this launch. It's going to be very exciting.
This is pretty cool, and I really appreciate you guys coming on here and talking to me about some of the real issues that are going there and actually wanting to address it, which is really cool because I never heard anybody wanting to talk about the competition like you guys did. So thanks for giving it to us real, giving it to us straight, and making sure our listeners are educated. So I want to thank you guys all out there in podcast land for listening to the show or watching this video. If you have that, make sure you reach out to us at novacancynews.com. I am at Traveling Glenn online, and be sure to like our Facebook page and check us out on LinkedIn. And I will see you guys next time. That is, unless I decide to go up to Anchorage and check in permanently to a Sheraton.
You're always welcome.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.